This is from Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. I don't know where.
She's from the upper Midwest.
I'm looking at the map, folks, so that means it's over
she's
there.
there. Yeah.
Do you think it's more important to try to be a productive part of our society, or to try and transcend your current situation within this society in an attempt to get closer to the Creator, if the two are mutually exclusive?
And I think the two have been mutually exclusive for a very long time.
Is that the problem?
I think that was necessary. I think it was necessary to be part of tribal society for a very long time because that was the only way to succeed and to survive. Then we, at our own individual spot in our growth and development over our many lifetimes, I'm sure many of us chose monastery life or hermitage in some way to separate from the ties that bind the demands of society in order to find the inner truth. Because it's very hard, particularly in our past, to know the truth and pretend you don't. To know everyone is divine and then to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Very hard. Which is why I think this is a very contemporary question. One that wouldn't have been asked even 100 years ago. That I think our challenge is to do both. Carolyn Mace, again, I quote her a lot because she's had such an influence on my understanding of life. That's what a good teacher does. She says we are mystics without monasteries now. When you live in a monastery, your life is controlled on the outer. You know, you don't just sit there and pray all day. You peel potatoes, or you scrub floors, or you cook food, whatever that is. There's a lot of physical labor involved in monastic life people don't realize. But I think we've done that. I think we've done that before. The challenge really is to live in the world knowing what you know and act accordingly. There's a wonderful book called The Path of Transformation by Shakti Gawain, where she addresses exactly this. And the way that she puts it is that there are three paths. The path of essentially materialism, which is tribal life, tribal society, which we are still under in the majority. Money, physical power, power over, what do you have? Stuffologists. We've become master stuffologists.
Pack rats, that can also translate to, folks.
Where my self-esteem is really stuff-esteem.
What do I have? This kind of car, this kind of boat, this kind of house, these kind of kids, this kind of wife, this kind of husband.
This kind of job, this kind of degree, this kind of title. I mean, it still finds its way into spirituality. What kind of Reiki practitioner? I'm a master. That's one path. The other path is the path of transcendence, which is still not in the majority, but has been around for thousands of years, going back probably before written history, which is that going off by yourself usually and finding the divine, And that's where you get renunciates. I renounce the world, I renounce meat, I renounce sex, I renounce contact with other people, vows of celibacy, vows of silence, vows of this, renounce, in order to sweep away everything that is not God. And that's doable. Hard to do on Long Island, but doable. Where Ms. Gawain, who I highly respect, she's one of the teachers that I adore who I've never met. I've met most of my teachers face to face, at least the ones incarnate. And she says there is a third path, very Buddhist in its way, the path of transformation, where you take what you know, agree you don't know everything, that it is a path, it is a journey, and you will continue to transform yourself while living in the world, and not just transform your own interior life, but as a result, or I should say as an effect, transform your exterior life. And that's the challenge I think we find ourselves in now.
There's a great book, and I know we've talked about it before, by Geshe Michael Roach, who became a Buddhist monk. There's a book called The Diamond Cutter, which is the original Buddhist book, but the book that he wrote is also called The Diamond Cutter. And it was asked of him by his teacher to take the Buddhist teachings and apply it to an everyday business life in New York City. And this book talks about that and using it for business for success and how you can be Buddhist and apply the enlightened path to what you do. And I read the book. I think it's wonderful. And maybe that might be helpful for some folks out there as well.
And I think it's a very practical focal point.
So you can do it.
And it's, I believe, what we're supposed to do. I believe we're supposed to take our spirituality, communicate with God, commune with God, know that we are God, and then act accordingly in the world. And don't get me wrong, I love my days, my weeks of solitude where it's just me and God and meditation.
Yes, thank you.
But then after a while I'm like, wonder what's going to happen on Eastwick this week. Great show. Yeah, I'm a little horny. I'm a little hungry. The world calls, and I don't think that's such a bad thing. To me, some of the greatest acts of power that I have are smiling at people and holding open doors. You don't need to hold open a door and say, by the way, I'm a witch. I'm being spiritual right now. Here is my enlightened act of grace and consciousness as I push the door open for you. No, you just do it for the sake of doing it because it's the right thing to do in that moment. And I think that's what our honor codes are about. The honor code is stored in the solar plexus. And I think as you grow, your honor code grows. And you are able to tune in more on intense acts of grace in the simplest, tiniest ways that make huge, huge changes. That's the paradox, is that large is small and small is large. That something as simple as smiling at someone, saying a silent prayer, can do a lot more than yelling at them, than pushing against them, than ridicule or any of those things that can be very long and drawn out. I mean, I will tell you, in this life, I've had people try and change me. It just never worked. It just never worked because their approach was really faulty. They always made such a big deal. Well, don't you understand? If you do this, people are going to think this about you, and you're not going to be able to do this, and you're not going to be able to do that, and it's huge, it's huge, it's huge. And I was like, no, it's not. Not to me. What's huge to me is staying in alignment with my source and feeling good. And from that, all actions that come will be motivated from that place of love within me.
But you needed to also acknowledge that within yourself.
And that took time.
And it can't come from the outside. I mean, the suggestion can be there, but it can't come from
all
the outside.
All teachers can do is point. And I had some really great pointing teachers. I even had some teachers that I would say were negative pointers, in that they would say one thing and do another so drastically different that it was a real...
Makes the brain hurt.
Yeah, a real slap in the face. But that's how I learned, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to walk in this world as a spiritual being, because by the way, everyone's a spiritual being, everyone's spirit first, then I am going to do my best to act from inspiration, from a place of clarity and hopefully peace. And if not peace, then joy, and if not joy, then love. But all of those vibrate on the same spectrum. Okay? So read The Path of Transformation by Shakti Gawain. It's a really good book.
Or if you get a chance, The Diamond Cutter by Michael Roach. Geish Michael Roach. Sorry.
We good? Is there more to that question?
No, we're very good. Michelle, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Love you.